How much money do you make as an Uber Black driver? There are a lot of unique things that come into play with Uber Black, so let's get right into it. First off, I'm in Hire Car right now, and as you can see, scraping the surface, going just by hourly rates, it's the difference between making $15 an hour when it comes to Uber X or regular Uber and $39 an hour. However, there's a massive, giant asterisk on this. Here's why. Now, I'm on Rideshare, and they've done a bunch of surveys and studies and research about Uber and Lyft income, which is why I love their site, breaking down the numbers, and they're specifically talking about New York City. I'm going to talk about location a little bit later in this video because that is such a massive factor when it comes to Uber Black. But going down here, let's say we're talking about 10 hours, right? 10 hours. Now, in those 10 hours, an Uber X driver will do about 15 to 20 trips. Being honest, I'd say closer to 20, but again, keeping numbers simple, 15 to 20 trips. However, the Uber Black driver will have completed 4 to 7 trips, way less. The regular Uber driver will make around $150 to $200, and the Uber Black driver will make anywhere from $200 to $450 when you consider all the math of how much you're getting paid per mile, how much you're getting paid per minute, etc., etc. Notice how the lower end of the Uber Black driver's potential is higher than that of the Uber X's, meaning the minimum amount you can make as an Uber Black driver is almost the maximum you can make as an Uber X driver. It is possible for a Black driver to make the same dollar amount as an X driver, but they will have done so with a lot less effort, a lot less miles driven, and a lot less hassle. But, and this is a big one, he would also have to have a lot more waiting time. He'll put in the same number of hours online, quote unquote. It's just that a lot of those hours will be spent idling rather than driving. So overall, based off all this data, it seems like you're going to make more money as an Uber Black driver than as a regular Uber driver, even though you're doing less rides. As you can imagine, way fewer people are ordering luxury rides than regular rides, but even still, given all the math out, when it comes to these luxury rides, they pay so well, it definitely offsets the fewer rides you're gonna get. Now, you may be wondering, well, okay, how much are you gonna make an hour though? Like, simply, I did a lot of research. I found a lot of vague estimates all over the place. The only concrete number I got is when I was in Vegas, I interviewed a bunch of drivers when I was there, when I was taking Uber and Lyfts, and one driver told me when he was driving for Uber Black a lot, he'd make on average $60 to $70 an hour. That's how much he made. However, though, this gets even trickier when you involve the location. Now, as we all know, the number one factor that determines how much money you can make as a driver is your location. I've said that at this point probably 30 times throughout this channel. And I feel like when it comes to Uber Black, this is even more apparent because you have to think not only of the financial aspect, but I think also the psychology of, well, why would somebody order Uber Black? Who is going to order Uber Black? So if you think about it, places like New York City, which I just showed you, Vegas, here in LA, these places have a lot of celebrities, influencers, A-listers. These are the type of people that are way more likely to order Uber Black than a regular Uber. And I think this is very important to mention because if, let's say, you have a car that does qualify for Uber Black and you are in, let's say, a very remote part of Ohio, I don't know if it's worth it. Who, let's say, in a remote part of Ohio is going to order an Uber Black? Well, I don't really think that many people. However, here in LA, as you can imagine, a lot of people have money. A lot of people maybe want to even flex and, drive up to a big event in a really nice car. Same thing in Vegas, as you can imagine. Vegas has a lot of money in there. Same thing with New York City. These are very big entertainment industry-filled cities, if that makes sense. And that's why when I was in Vegas and I was talking to a driver and he's like, when I do Uber Black, I make a lot of money. A big thing to mention too is tips. He said the amount he made in tips was ridiculous. He's like, look, even sometimes one tip could equal one ride for normal Uber. Like he would get tipped sometimes 30 or 40 bucks. And he's like, that's equal to one ride for Uber and I keep all that money, which is great, right? Like, so the amount you can get paid when it comes to tips is also pretty big. As you can imagine, people have a luxury experience when they get Uber Black, so they're going to tip more. Tipping, I think, is a lot more common with that type of experience. And these people have money, so they're way more likely to tip and also tip a lot more. So if you are in a very big entertainment kind of filled area, if let's say you're in an area that has a lot of money too, like let's say Silicon Valley, that's a great place to be able to drive and make a lot of money doing so. And then, talking about all of this, there is one big last point to bring up, and that is the events. Now, this is true not only for LA, Vegas, and New York, but other cities as well. And what I'm talking about is, let's say there's any high-profile event going on. The Super Bowl is coming up here in LA. Let's say it's Vegas, and obviously Vegas is always Vegas, but let's say there's a big fight, like a big UFC fight or a boxing match. As you can imagine, tons of big influencers, celebrities, A-listers are going to Vegas. And if you do Uber Black and you drive those luxury rides during that fight, I guarantee you can make an insane amount of money because a lot of people are going to the fight and they have no issue spending, and they probably want to spend more money to get a luxury experience and pull up in a luxury vehicle. This is a big thing to keep in mind because if, let's say, your car does qualify for Uber Black, keep in mind, like I said earlier in this video, you're definitely going to do way less rides. But remember, it does balance out a lot because, yeah, you're doing less rides, but you're getting paid more, and it's almost like a double whammy or a win-win where you're also putting less wear and tear on your car. It's amazing. However, you do want to be careful because let's say you're in an area like Chicago, for example, and let's say there's not that many A-listers compared to LA. Well, yeah, you might get paid pretty well for an Uber Black ride, but maybe you get so few, you actually lose money in comparison to regular Uber. A big thing though is if, let's say in Chicago, there is a Super Bowl happening, or let's say there's some big entertainment event where you know it's going to be very flashy, red carpet style entertainment event, you're probably going to make a lot more money driving for Uber Black than for a regular Uber. This is always something to keep in mind. And I know on this video, you're probably wondering, well, Mark, how much money can I make? But it really depends. I did a lot of research for this video to try to figure out, okay, obviously you can make different income in different cities, but it was so all over the place, I couldn't really find an exact specific hourly amount. And I think the reason why is Uber Black, from what I could find, is a lot more inconsistent, right? When you drive for Uber, you're almost guaranteed to get a ride. And not only that, the rides overlap, as we all know. However, though, when it comes to, like, say, Uber Black, you might not get a ride. Who knows if maybe when you're driving, like, say it's Tuesday from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., you could have that app on and no one orders a ride because who's going to want to ball out? I mean, unless it's an event, who's going to want to ball out on a ride and get this luxury vehicle at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to go to their friend's house or something? No, maybe some people, that's way less common. And I think that's why the Uber Black income overall, what I've noticed, is more inconsistent. Even given Rideshare's article that I just showed you, it's still something that represented New York City. New York is New York. Vegas is Vegas. LA is LA. In other areas, though, this gets a bit more vague as to how many people are going to be ordering a luxury ride. Now, during events, that should be great, but let's be honest, for a lot of other, let's say smaller cities or cities that don't have a big entertainment demographic, events are maybe a few a year that is actually be more of a lucrative side to Uber Black. So overall, yes, you can make more money if you are in a better city that has a lot of events, but this is something to keep in mind that yes, while you are getting paid more per ride, you actually might lose out on money. The best thing at the end of the day is to do both. If you have a car that qualifies, and obviously if you qualify for Uber Black, you also qualify for Uber, test them out, see which one you get paid more, and then go from there.